Remember last week? Holy cow, what a huge, huge story it was, the lawsuit that rocked Fox Sports. That Nushin Farji, the hairstylist, the single working Iranian woman, has some allegations in a 42-page lawsuit that are and were and they're amazing. They're sensational. They're amazing. They're titillating. They're explosive. And it speaks to a culture that Nushin says permeated Fox Sports. And she alleges, insinuates in her lawsuit that there's a bunch of other women that have similar complaints and perhaps will join her class action lawsuit. The allegations paint Rupert Murdoch in a bad light and Fox in a bad light. She tries to point to, like, there's a continuing pattern at Fox Sports that the things that Nushin is saying that Charlie Dixon or Skip Bayless or Joy Taylor were involved in, that this is kind of the what's expected in a Fox environment. She points to, hey, Jamie Horowitz, when he was running Fox Sports, had the same problem. Probably insinuates that, other high-profile people at Fox News have had the same problem. And so you look at this lawsuit and you say, wow, this is like a fantasy. This is this is everything the New York Times dreams about. This lawsuit speaks to the toxicity and the negative ramifications of the patriarchy. Look at these women and how they were exploited by these white men. Rupert Murdoch, Skip Bayless, Charlie Dixon. You have a lawsuit that says that Rupert Murdoch's company, and Rupert's in his 90s, white man, that his company has created an environment where a 70-year-old white man, Skip Bayless, worth millions of dollars, Rupert's a billionaire, Skip Bayless is a multimillionaire, and he's in his 70s, and an executive that's making high six figures, low seven figures, white man in his 40s, Charlie Dixon, that look at them just run wild. Look at the patriarchy, the white male patriarchy. This is the stuff the New York Times dreams about. And the question I'm asking now, 10 days later? Why is the New York Times, why have they avoided this story? Go punch it into Google and see, what has the New York Times written about this story? Nothing. There's one article you'll find where some person that's an editor for The Athletic, which the New York Times owns, has written a piece about it. And it was written for The Athletic, and it was just basically aggregation of what had been written by others. No New York Times spin on it. No New York Times think pieces on it. It's an aggregated piece from some editor from The Athletic, and they've given it the white glove or what do they call it, the white branding or something. I forget. They pretended like it's associated with the New York Times. But the New York Times has not dove into this story. I told you all last week that the Washington Post had reached out to me, Ben Strauss. I didn't return the calls. I have no interest in working with the Washington Post. I don't trust them. Ben Strauss has written false things about me. I have no trust in the Washington Post and corporate media. But the Washington Post has dealt with this story, in my view, with kid gloves. No one's trying to further this story. Where are the think pieces from the great elite leftist media organizations, particularly the New York Times? This is their fantasy. They hate Rupert Murdoch. They hate Fox. Rupert Murdoch and Fox are supposed to be the antithesis of everything that's wrong with the world and what's wrong with the white male patriarchy. Crickets. Not a word from the New York Times. And you have to ask why. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's all connected to everything that's going on in the world. When I get online, I want to know that I'm safe from people trying to spy on me. That's why I love ExpressVPN. Find out how you can get 4 months free by clicking the link in the description box below or by going to expressvpn.com/fearless. They can't touch it because when you look into the story, the real villain is Joy Taylor. And I don't say that with any sort of delight or any sort of animus. I don't dislike Joy Taylor. As I told you all last week, I was just wise enough to say, nah, you need to be careful, Whitlock. Joy is a recipe for destruction for you. Proceed with caution. That's all I said. Is, for that's trouble. You should stay away from it. Big cans, peanut butter, blah, blah. I'm not going to rehash that because I'm not doing this for giggles at this point. But they can't touch it, and the New York Times won't expose this story and dive into what does this really mean, because Joy Taylor is the actual villain in this story so far. The way the allegations are laid out, the way Nusheen explained the allegations, it's actually the half black, half white woman who claims to be a black woman who is the villain. And the New York Times and mainstream media, they don't allow black women to be the villains. They don't allow any accountability for black women. Black women are a new segment of the chosen ones and the chosen group and the perpetual victims that no one can question. They've been grafted into that chosen one family that's untouchable. Because if you criticize them, oh my God, it's an affront to God to criticize the black woman. And everybody must devote their lives to the elevation of black women. That's the new religion that's been created in America in particular. And so the New York Times can't touch this story because Joy Taylor, if you read the allegations and has someone that has spent some time working at Fox Sports and knew everybody involved, I can't vouch for the veracity of everything that Nusheen said in her lawsuit. But what I can say is, yeah, that don't sound far-fetched. From what I saw, what I witnessed, what I experienced, that don't sound crazy. Now, I don't know if every fact is true. I don't know if things have been spun, out of control, out of context, but it don't sound crazy. And so the allegation that Joy Taylor planned and participated in having sex with Charlie Dixon or high-up executive to attain power within Fox Sports, to move up the ladder and eventually get her own television show at Fox Sports, and that she planned on, according to Nusheen, that if things ever spun out of control, she would just say, hey, Charlie Dixon forced himself on me and, I was a victim. That's what the allegations in the lawsuit said. And so when this lawsuit spun out, everybody was like, hey, Skip Bayless offered somebody $1.5 million for sex, and let's focus in on that. And hey, there's an executive at Fox that was having sex with an employee and maybe having sex with other employees. And everybody, the expectation was that was going to be the story. Skip Bayless and Charlie Dixon. People that read the lawsuit said, no, Joy Taylor's the actual story, and we're going to focus all the attention on her. And corporate media, and the New York Times in particular, has said, no, you can't do that. That's a black woman. She's part of the chosen people. She's a sacred cow. Don't miss a second of Fearless. Hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with our latest content.